Welcome into the Michigan Football Report. I am James Yoder, your host for this show, the face of Michigan football media. We're going to take a look at Michigan's potential bowl games and bowl matchups heading into Selection Sunday in college football if you will, coming up this Sunday. Going to take a look at the likelihood that Michigan makes the Rose Bowl, the other bowls should they not be in the Rose Bowl, and the slight chance something bigger could be out there for the Wolverines. And with that, let's take a look at the college football playoff rankings that were released on Tuesday night. No surprise, Alabama, Clemson, Notre Dame remain the top three. Georgia jumps up to number 4 with Michigan losing to Ohio State. The Buckeyes didn't get as big of a jump as I actually thought they might, given the big wins over the Wolverines. So Oklahoma comes in at number 5. You slip over to the next screen here. Ohio State up to 6 after dropping to number 10 a week ago. Michigan falls to 7, which surprised some people over an undefeated number 8 UCF, who jumps a spot from 9 to 8. Florida and LSU, a couple 3-loss SEC teams, are finishing out the bottom of the top 10 in the college football playoff rankings at number 9 and number 10. So, where could Michigan play in a bowl game this year to finish off the 2018 season? I actually think the most likely bowl game is the Rose Bowl, where Michigan has not been since the 2006 season, a year they started off 11-0, also lost to Ohio State. So this game will be played January 1st. It's 5 Eastern. It starts at 2 o'clock Pacific, and the sun comes down in the second half. It's a beautiful environment if you've never been. Michigan's last appearance, January 1st, 07, end of the 06 season. Of course, a loss to USC in a game Michigan was actually favored by, I believe, a touchdown in that game. So that is the potential if Ohio State makes the college football playoff. I think they're more likely because they've got a much easier opponent in Notre Dame than Oklahoma does versus Texas. And I think Urban Meyer has shown in the past, most notably 2014, he will put everything into a Big Ten championship game to secure a college football playoff bid. So if they make the Rose Bowl, who would they face? It's going to be one of two teams. Most likely, in my opinion, the Washington Huskies coming off a big upset win versus the Washington State. Washington State. I said Notre Dame. Okay, cool. So said Notre Dame. Ohio State will be playing Northwestern. Correcting myself there. Washington, Utah coming up this weekend, Friday, in the Pac-12 championship game. I think Michigan would play Washington because I actually think Washington is going to beat Utah fairly soundly. Take a look at these two teams. Michigan's strength of schedule, number 23, versus Washington's number 29. Michigan with a better strength of record, but both strength of records for each team is pretty solid, number 7 versus number 3, and both have a couple of top 25 wins. The number 11 Huskies playing this team, who could be Michigan's opponent if they're in the Rose Bowl. The number 17 Utah Utes coming in at 9-3 on the year. Number 17 strength of record, number 20 strength of schedule, and 0 top 25 wins. It should, though, be noted that Michigan has lost 3 straight games to Utah after winning in 2002 season. Michigan lost in 2008 in Rich Rod's first year, 2014 in Brady Hoke's last year, and then to kick off Jim Harbaugh's tenure at Michigan, they went out there to Salt Lake City in that Thursday night game, Jim Harbaugh's first game, and Utah got a win. So Michigan could get a little revenge, although I would be absolutely not excited about this game at all if it was Michigan-Utah in the Rose Bowl. Take a look at Michigan's Rose Bowl history coming up here. No stranger to the Rose Bowl. Certainly the most in the Big Ten. I believe second most Rose Bowl appearances all time to USC. Going way back against Stanford, USC, a lot of appearances in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and into the 90s. We all remember the 1997 National Championship appearance against Washington State coming up here. But a lot of losses in the Bo Schembechler tenure out there in the Rose Bowl. You see, in the 91 year, they played Washington, who won the national championship, got absolutely blown out 34-14. Revenge, though, the next year, the Tyrone Wheatley 200-plus yard Rose Bowl game, 38-31 in 1992. 5-year drought, played Washington State for the national title, won 21-16 in 97, and then 3 straight losses. The USC game when USC was playing for the national title in 03, 04, the classic versus Texas where Dusty Magnum kicked that field goal to win it as time expired, and then in 2006, Michigan coming off a 1-2 Ohio State loss, 32-18 to USC. So they haven't been there in 12 seasons. And I think a lot of people would be excited if they did make it, get it back out there to Pasadena after a 12-year drought. If it's not Pasadena, if the Buckeyes get shut out of the college football playoff, who could Michigan or where could Michigan play? The next two bowl games I'm going to show you here are the other destinations that are possible for the Wolverines. Number one, the Peach Bowl. It's in Atlanta, and it is actually the day of, I believe, the day of the college football playoff game. So I think it actually takes away from the excitement of this game for me, because most people will be waiting until the afternoon to watch the college football playoff games. This game might be majorly overshadowed, but this is still technically a New Year's Six Bowl, which has replaced the old BCS Bowl games. So the Peach Bowl is in the New Year's Six, one of the big six games. Noon Eastern, ESPN. Michigan has never appeared in the Peach Bowl, but this is the most geographically advantageous game in Atlanta. You could drive there if you really wanted to, if you live in Michigan. The other game Michigan could play in is the Fiesta Bowl. Out there in Glendale, Arizona, you fly into the Phoenix airport. That is January 1. That is the early game, the 1 o'clock game on ESPN before the Rose Bowl. So this game leads right into the Rose Bowl that day. Michigan has not been in there since 1986. Jim Harbaugh-led team beat Nebraska 27-23 in the Fiesta Bowl. So want to take a look. We know who the opponents will be for the Rose. Be Utah or Washington. Who would be the opponents for the Fiesta and the Peach? If they play in the Fiesta Bowl, there's a chance it could be Washington State, although they don't travel well, don't have the rabid fan bases of some of these other schools. Because of the geographical component of it, there's a chance a two-loss Washington State, which I actually think they deserve it with only being 2 losses, could be Michigan's opponent in this game. They wouldn't play them in the Peach Bowl. I don't think there's any way the Peach Bowl would take Washington State, but they could pick them in the Fiesta Bowl, an old Big Ten, Pac-12 matchup, Michigan versus Washington State. It's been a while. It's been 21 seasons since Michigan's played them, but they have a 4-0 record all-time against Washington State, 3 regular season games, and then that 1997 Rose Bowl that Michigan clinches a national championship, beating the Ryan Leaf-led Pac-12 championship Cougars. Washington State's strength of schedule was not tough. Their strength of record is pretty decent, and 1 top 25 win this year for the Cougars. So if they're in the Fiesta Bowl, could play Washington State. If it's not Washington State in the Fiesta Bowl, it's either going to be the Fiesta or the Peach, and it could be against any one of these opponents coming up. So I want to kind of just talk through those opponents, see who Michigan could be facing in their bowl games. So let's take a look at this first one. UCF have not lost a game in 2 seasons, and with their quarterback Mackenzie Milton being out, I actually would maybe be okay with this matchup, because I think Michigan would have a chance to win. Although with Milton in the game, I think he could give Michigan's defense a little bit of trouble that they would potentially have a chance to lose that game. But with Milton out of the game, chance that Mackenzie Milton-less UCF could be Michigan's opponent. No top 25 wins for UCF. Number 9 strength of record, though, but that strength of schedule at number 107 is absolutely disastrous. Peach Bowl could get a UCF crowd. They could drive up from Florida, drive up from Orlando. That is a potential possibility. Could also be in the Fiesta Bowl for that matchup. Michigan faced them in 2016, Scott Frost's first year. Michigan with a big win that day. They won 51-14 against UCF in 2016. So flip it over to another potential opponent, an opponent Michigan is not surprised or is not unfamiliar with at all, and that is the Florida Gators. Have faced them 4 times since 2002. Michigan 4-0 in those games, 3 bowl games, 1 regular season game to start the 2017 season. These Gators, 3 losses, decent strength of record. Did beat LSU earlier in the season, and that's kind of the game that they're hanging their hat on right now. 2 top 25 wins for each team. Number 12 strength of record versus number 7, and a strength of schedule of number 43 for the Gators. I don't want to see this at all. I'm sick of playing Florida. Michigan owns Florida. I'll probably regret those words when they face them, when Florida beats Michigan, just to stick it to my words there. But 4 times in the last 16 years, but really it's been 3 times and I guess 2 times in the last couple years in Jim Harbaugh's tenure, and then that 2007 season ended it, Lloyd Carr's last game facing Michigan. I don't want to play Florida. They played them too often in recent years, 3 bowl games since 2002 and a regular season matchup just last season. Don't want to see Florida. Could see it, though, in either the Peach or the Fiesta Bowl. The opponent I'd like to see, because of a couple reasons. One, I think it'd be just something fresh, something new. I think Michigan would, both fan bases would enjoy it. Plus, they've never played each other at all in the history of their school, and that would be LSU. Number 10 in the country, 3 losses on the year. A couple top 25 wins. They got off hot earlier in the year, beating Auburn, beating Miami to start the season. 2 top 25 wins as things stand now for LSU. Pretty good strength of record for both schools. Pretty good strength of schedule for both teams. I think this is the ideal matchup for Michigan. It'd be great, I think, it'd be in Atlanta because both schools could bring a pretty decent fan base. If it's out in Arizona, you never know how people will feel about the game. Will they travel for either school, really? And it could be one of those bowl games that don't get as much excitement specifically. It would be leading into a Rose Bowl. We'll see what happens there. But I would prefer this game in the Peach Bowl. It might get overshadowed that day by the college football playoff games. So Michigan LSU is my preferred matchup. But I want to ask you guys, what bowl game do you want Michigan to play in? Type R for Rose, type F for Fiesta, and type P for Peach below in the comments watching Facebook Live and the Chat Sports YouTube channel. R for Rose, F for Fiesta, P for Peach. And I want to warn you folks for a second, if you're typing R right now, know what that means. Know what that means. It's like rooting for your ex-wife's husband to become a billionaire. You just don't want to do it. It'd be rooting for Ohio State to get in the playoff game. So if you're typing R, you need to check yourself because you're an idiot, okay? R for Rose, F for Fiesta, P for Peach. If you're typing in R, you should type yourself an L because you are a loser. All right, take a look one more time. College football playoff rankings, top 10. The reason we're going to look at these one more time, does Michigan still have a chance to be in the CFP, the college football playoffs this season? Maybe. Let's take a look at this scenario. Alabama faces Georgia this week. They beat Georgia, and they crushed Georgia, leaving no question whether or not Alabama is better than them. Beat them by 40 points. Georgia is knocked out of contention. Oklahoma loses again to Texas. Flip over Ohio State facing Northwestern. Ohio State loses to Northwestern. That's 2 losses against the lesser respected Big Ten West, Northwestern and Purdue. Michigan's losses at that time would be against the 2 teams, Ohio State and Notre Dame, with a combined 2 losses. Would that give them the edge when all things considered over Ohio State, over UCF, over maybe even a 3-loss Florida LSU? Could those 3 games happening give Michigan a chance? I think it's got about a 2% chance, but they're technically still alive for the playoff. If those 3 things happen, Alabama crushes Georgia, Ohio State loses to Northwestern, and then Oklahoma loses for the 2nd time this season to Texas, Michigan could find themselves potentially with a chance on Sunday, where Chat Sports will be streaming the college football playoff rankings reveal, the final one. You can potentially see Michigan having a small chance to make the college football playoff. The bowl season is upon us. If you want to bet on college football bowl games, which is going to make the entire Christmas and holiday season much more enjoyable than sitting around with your family, do it with BetDSI. Go to chatsports.com/bet. We have hooked you up. We have negotiated on your behalf a 120% deposit bonus. You put in $50 to get started, you're going to get a free 60 sitting there in your account. Put in 100, 120, you can do math, right? You probably went to Michigan. If you put in 500, you get $600 free. So it's a pretty good deal. Chatsports.com/bet. Use that promo code GOBLUE, or you won't get the 120% bonus. So make sure you use the GOBLUE promo code. Want to walk you through as we finish the show the Michigan football bowl history since 1997's national championship season. Roll the tape here on that bowl history. Of course, 97 placed Washington State, and don't get me into this. The game was in 98. This is the season, okay? I don't want to hear you commenters saying there was a 98 Rose Bowl. This is the season that it happened in. Michigan beat Washington State in 1998, a win over Arkansas, 45-31. Going to 99, the Tom Brady-led Michigan versus Alabama matchup of 2 top 10 teams. Michigan winning in overtime after Alabama actually missed their extra point on their touchdown, which is kind of a funny way to win a game. 2000 beat Auburn 38-21. Lackluster, good year for Michigan. Finishing the year with 3 losses, but a year they should have had much higher potential, losing 3 games by about a combined 6-7 points. 2001 got absolutely blown out by Tennessee, 45-17. Flip it over to 2002, the Outback Bowl beat Florida. The Ron Zook-led Gators, 38-30. 2003, the next year, the split national title for USC, kind of the fake national title. The Trojans won that game 28-14. Next season, the Vince Young Bowl, kind of the Braylon Edwards, Steve Breston, and Chad Henne Bowl as well, but Texas drove down, kicked a field goal as time expired to beat Michigan 38-17. The following year, probably the worst bowl game in Michigan football history, given their big lead, giving up a few touchdowns late, and then the disastrous band is out on the field potential moment where Tyler Eckert did not pitch the ball, where Michigan could have had a walk-off, kickoff return touchdown for the win. Didn't happen against them. Awful game. Next year, Michigan loses again. Finishes the year with 2 losses, Ohio State and USC in the Rose Bowl, 38-31. 2007 season, Lloyd Carr's final game beats an Urban Meyer and Tim Tebow-led Florida team, 41-35 in the Capital One Bowl. 2-year bowl hiatus after setting the record for most longest bowl streak in history to start the Rich Rod years. Then we get 2010, and he ends it with a dud, crushed by Mississippi State, 52-14. Brady Hoke the next season, though, avenged that loss. Michigan gets a BCS bowl win after a long drought over Virginia Tech. 2011 Sugar Bowl, 23-20. The following year, Jadeveon Clowney, Vincent Smith's helmet still hasn't landed after that game, after that hit, loses 33-28 South Carolina. 2013, crushed by Kansas State in a score that probably wasn't even that close, 31-14 in the Buffalo Wildlings Bowl. I think they've even changed that name since then. The following season, or 2 seasons later, Jim Harbaugh's first year, but destroys Florida 41-7 in the Citrus Bowl. And then the last 2 years, 2 years ago versus Florida State, game Michigan had and should have won, lost late to Florida State 33-32. And then last season's debacle when Michigan was up 19-3 in the middle to the end of third quarter, 26-19 losses to South Carolina in a game that hopefully changed things for the good in Michigan football going forward as Jim Harbaugh made a number of staff changes after that game. That is the Michigan football bowl projections and a look at the 4, 5, 6 teams that Michigan could potentially play in those 3 bowl games. And we walked you through the recent Michigan bowl history. We will be back on Sunday. We've got the Michigan football bowl, reveal show, and Chat Sports is broadcasting the college football playoff final ranking. So stick with us then, and we will see you on Sunday.